Fight for the unborn. A pro-life lawmaker wants answers to the discovery of aborted babies in the nation's capital. Papal travels. Learn more about the Holy Father's upcoming trip to one of Russia's important neighbors. Religious freedom. An initiative celebrates the importance of faith in our daily lives. And Easter charity. Gift baskets are on their way to refugees from Ukraine thanks to the Knights of Columbus. On EWTN News Nightly for Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm Eric Rosales in for Tracy Sable. We begin tonight in Florida. A judge there has dismissed a lawsuit against the state's 24-hour waiting period before an abortion. The ruling cited other medical procedures with similar waiting periods. Florida's Catholic bishops are praising the decision, which ends a 7-year legal battle. New developments tonight after the remains of more than 100 aborted babies were found in the nation's capital last week. Now lawmakers say that they want answers. Lawmakers are joining in on the calls for an investigation if the abortions were performed illegally. D.C. police say that the babies were aborted, quote, in accordance with D.C. law. And joining us now is one of the pro-life lawmakers seeking answers, Republican Representative Chris Smith from New Jersey. Congressman Smith, thank you so much for joining us.
Eric, thank you so very much for bringing a focus to this grisly discovery.
It certainly is grisly discovery, and I know that you were among one of the members in Congress who signed a letter to D.C.'s mayor and the chief of police. Tell us more about the letter and what you hopes will be done with this.
Okay, Eric, there are two letters. The first one went to the mayor, asking that the coroner do the proper autopsy. 5 very large aborted unborn babies, no longer unborn, but babies, were found. And, if we found 5 5-year-olds, the bodies of 5 5-year-olds, we would leave no stone unturned in trying to discover how it is that they died and whether or not laws were broken. And of course, in this case, we have every reason to believe that a partial birth abortion was performed based on the way one of those children presented in terms of the skull and the fact that the baby was disfigured. So there's a real place not just for the DC, but also for the Attorney General Garland to look at this. So Mike Lee and I, Senator Mike Lee, co-wrote a letter signed by 69 House and Senate members demanding that this be investigated. We believe that the Partial Birth Abortion Act, enacted back in 2003, was violated, and we want answers as to whether or not this clinic in D.C. Illegally killed these babies through that method, and for frankly an accounting for these terrible victims, the pathetic aspect that these children have been so brutally murdered.
Switching gears now, Congressman, the Victims of Communism Memorial Fund just announced that a survivor of the Chinese concentration camp made it safely back to the United States. What more do you know about that?
Well, I was actually at the press conference today and actually worked to try to get Joseph, Julia, and their son Daniel here because we were very fearful that they would be lost back to the Chinese Communist Party. Joseph had spent 10 months in one of the gulags in Xinjiang, documented the horrific tortures that he and others were experiencing, including the torture in what they call the chair, a hideous torture device that's used to break people, and at times it even kills them. And he was very articulate today, speaking out against the genocide that's being committed as we talk by Xi Jinping, the dictator in the People's Republic of China. This is eyes properly are on Putin's genocide against the Ukraine. Well, we have a genocide that is ongoing, pervasive, and it is just the loss of life and the use of torture is everywhere in Xinjiang, where these people are being mostly Muslim Uyghurs. Turns out that Joseph and his wife and son are Christians, so they're being persecuted as well.
My goodness. On a different note, migrants from the southern border were transported to D.C. today. And Can you tell us more about the situation over at the southern border? And is this a publicity stunt or might actually bring some change?
I think it's an appeal. It's a great question because it's an appeal for some common sense on the part of the administration. We have an open border. You know, when the Secure Fence Act was passed in 2006, which envisioned a full and robust border in the South, Hillary Clinton voted for it. The ranking member of the United States Senate, Democrats and Republicans voted for it, and then all of a sudden they were unwilling to fund it. Trump did provide a lot of funding, but not enough because he was blocked over and over again by the Democrats in the House and the Senate. And we now have an open border, an engraved invitation for people to come here. Trafficking is a very serious problem. The transport and trafficking of fentanyl, which is killing so many people in this country, record numbers of people, is coming over that border. Fences make good neighbors, and I think like I said, it's a magnet, if you will. When that border is down, and I don't understand the President of the United States, Biden, or his Vice President. This is not humane in any way, shape, or form to do this. Many of these people are being exploited. I actually talked to the President of Guatemala, who told me that about 80% of all the women coming north are sexually assaulted at some point during this process. And then we also have gangs that are trafficking women. I'm the author of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 and 4 other anti-human trafficking laws. I think it's outrageous to provide a means, a modality that allows traffickers to come into this country with human cargo that are then exploited once they get here. So it's a very serious problem, and I think the Biden administration is to be severely faulted. It is inhumane not to have the wall and to have a secure border. It is not humane.
Representative Smith, I want to thank you very much for your time today, and we'll continue to keep talking to you up on Capitol Hill. Thank you so much, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Eric, for having me on. I appreciate it.
In other news, President Joe Biden used the word genocide to describe what he says Russia is doing in Ukraine. That word is reverberating around the world tonight. The president says evidence against Russia is mounting, while acknowledging that it will be up to the lawyers to make the final call on whether the terms qualifies. White House correspondent Owen Jensen joins us now with more. Owen.
Eric, good evening to you. Well, the White House says President Joe Biden spoke by phone for about an hour today with Ukraine's President Zelensky, who earlier praised President Biden for using the word genocide to describe what Russia is doing in Ukraine. Now, France, on the other hand, not so quick to apply that term. Meanwhile, the U.S. announced another $800 million in security assistance going to Ukraine in the form of ammo and weapons.
As fighting in Ukraine shows no end in sight.
Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide half a world away.
President Joe Biden not only called Russia's invasion of Ukraine genocide, but also defended his remarks later.
I called it genocide because it's become clearer and clearer that Putin is just trying to wipe out the idea of even being able to be a Ukrainian.
A United Nations treaty defines genocide as actions taken with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. French President Emmanuel Macron thinks Russia committed war crimes but stopped short of calling it genocide, adding, "I'm not sure if the escalation of words serves our cause." Still, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky praised President Biden, calling his remarks true words of a true leader, and calling things by their names is essential to stand up to evil. President Zelensky met today with the presidents of Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, who all made a dangerous journey by train into Kyiv. And any thoughts the conflict would weaken NATO appear to be wrong. Finland may be on the verge of joining the defense alliance.
The European security architecture have changed fundamentally after Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
And Sweden is considering joining NATO as well.
We have to really think through what is best for Sweden and our security and our peace in this new situation.
Now, looking ahead, tomorrow on Holy Thursday, President Biden travels to Greensboro, North Carolina. The White House says he'll be discussing supply chains and bringing down costs for the American people. And if you wear a mask on planes and trains, don't toss them just yet. The CDC is extending the mask mandate. It was supposed to end on April 18th. Now it goes through May 3rd. They say they want to keep an eye on COVID-19 cases. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you very much, Owen. Well, a friend of the Holy Father is defending the decision to have people from Russia and Ukraine carry the cross together during the Good Friday procession at the Colosseum. The Ukrainian ambassador to the Holy See blasted the decision, but a close associate of Pope Francis notes the Holy Father is, quote, a pastor, not a politician. The Jesuit priest adds that the carrying of the cross is a sign of peace. Pope Francis calls any military conflict between nations, quote, an outrage against God.
Pasqua è allora la vera festa di Dio e dell'uomo.
At his weekly talk to pilgrims at the Vatican, the Holy Father notes the weapons of our Lord are prayer, forgiveness, and loving one's neighbor. He adds that violence comes from the false god of this world, which seeks its own power and glory, rather than the good of others. More details are emerging about the Holy Father's trip in September to one of Russia's neighbors. The news from the Holy Father's trip to Kazakhstan is taking place in September. It was confirmed by the director of the Holy See press office. The trip by Pope Francis will coincide with the 7th Congress of the Leaders of the World and Traditional Religions. And joining us now from Rome is Alexey Gotovskiy, EWTN Vaticano Producer and native of Kazakhstan. Alexey, welcome back. And why do you think the Holy Father accepted the invitation now to visit Kazakhstan?
Good evening, Eric. Following Pope Francis' reaction to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the Holy Father is taking every opportunity to advocate for peace. In fact, the 7th Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions is a powerful platform for religious diplomacy. It is an unprecedented event that will bring the religious leaders from over 50 countries together at a round table. And among the invitees are the leaders of Judaism, Buddhism, Protestantism, and even the Russian Orthodox Patriarch of Moscow and Sheikh Ahmed Al-Taib, with whom Pope Francis recently signed the document on human fraternity. And the theme of the Congress will be the role of leaders, of religious leaders in the social-spiritual development of humanity after the pandemic. And I spoke with the organizers, and they told me that it is expected that the leaders will come up with a joint document in a form of a declaration, which will be a blueprint about the role of religions in the post-pandemic world. And secondly, Pope Francis will visit the faithful that live in one of the farthest peripheries of the Catholic world. The Central Asian region is predominantly Muslim, with a tiny Christian minority. And thirdly, Pope Francis' trip marks the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between Kazakhstan and the Holy See, and it marks 21 years since the visit of St. John Paul II to the country. Eric, I was a pilgrim at that event when I was only 11 years old, but I remember the joy and the enthusiasm of the Kazakh people welcoming the Pope and the positive impact that the visit brought.
Oh, most definitely. So what has been the current situation of Catholics in Kazakhstan since the Pope's last visit?
Catholics in Kazakhstan are a minority. It is only 1% of the total population, but it is a vibrant minority. In my city of Karaganda, we have the only Catholic seminary for the whole Central Asian region. There is also the Central Asian Marian Shrine dedicated to Our Lady of Peace located in Kazakhstan. Eric, imagine that the region is bigger than the European Union. It combines countries like Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. It is a region between Russia, Afghanistan, China, and Kazakhstan is in the center of all of this. And last year, the Catholic bishops created a special bishops' conference of Central Asia, basing its center in Kazakhstan. So in 2 weeks, the Bishop Conference of Central Asia will hold its first meeting. And it is expected that Cardinal Tagle, the head of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, will open this first session.
And what do you think that the Pope's visit will bring to the people of Kazakhstan?
The visit of the Holy Father certainly will bring hope, and people in Kazakhstan, like in many other countries, are tired after the pandemic, scared after the recent unrest in the country, as well as feeling very uncertain because of the military conflict in the neighboring country. And the visit of the Holy Father will bring hope and build bridges between the East and the West in the heart of Central Asia in Kazakhstan.
Well, Alexey, thank you so much for joining us. Again, Alexey Gotovskiy, EWTN Vaticano producer and native of Kazakhstan. Coming up, celebrating April as the month of faith, plus appreciating Christ's passion as beauty of faith. Welcome back. The man convicted of killing a Catholic pro-life lawmaker in the United Kingdom has been sentenced to life in prison. The assailant, a supporter of ISIS, killed David Amos with a knife attack last year. The judge says that the man showed no signs of remorse. Officials in Germany say that they will permit the rainbow flag to fly in front of government buildings on occasion. Previously, there have been no rules on flying the flag. The Interior Minister says the decision reflects Germany as a modern and diverse country. Well, the Concerned Women for America Legislative Action Committee is advocating to make April a month dedicated to faith. The group is hoping lawmakers on both the federal and state levels will recognize April as Faith Month, and they also are encouraging Christians to fly flags to publicly display their faith. And joining me now to discuss is Penny Nance, CEO and President of Concerned Women for America. Penny, welcome back. Tell us more about your faith. Tell us more about your faith, and I know that there are some legislators out there that are supporting your initiative.
That's right. So, yes, as a Christian believer and follower of Jesus, Concerned Women for America members around this nation feel very strongly that it's time for Christians to stand up and be recognized and to put our voices forward. You know, you talked about rainbow flags earlier, and there's all sorts of identity groups, Black Lives Matter signs, all sorts of opportunities for people to show what they believe. But we think that and believe very strongly that April should be Faith Month. So Congresswoman Mary Miller from Illinois and Senator Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith from Mississippi put forward and read into the record the idea and designated April as Faith Month. And so we're calling on Christians all over this country to let their faith fly proudly in the Christian flag. A lot of people don't know that there is a Christian flag, and it's been around since the 1940s. It even has a beautiful pledge that goes along with it, and we would just urge people to stand up for what they believe in this Easter season.
Amen to that. And on a different note, we reported earlier about the aborted babies that were found in D.C., and I know that you've been following it very closely. What's your reaction to what you've heard so far and the lack of action amid calls for an investigation?
Well, certainly the media do not want to talk about this, and District of Columbia officials and the mayor want to, hide this underneath the rug. But we're very grateful that Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Langford from Oklahoma have requested that they preserve the documents, and there has to be an investigation. It's a complicated story. A progressive pro-life organization, yes, those exist, were able to get a hold of a box of aborted baby parts, and this is a very graphic discussion, but these babies were late-term abortions. They were killed perhaps after they had taken their first breath of life, which that would be illegal in the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is very liberal in their abortion laws, but this has to be investigated, and so we are urging Congress to take the effort per the Constitution. Congress has oversight of the District of Columbia. It's been done many times over the years, specifically on financial issues. We think this is a very important issue that has to be looked into.
Well, thank you so much, Penny Nance. Thank you so much for your time.
God bless. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Up next, a great work of art prepares us for Easter. An early Renaissance painter created a three-part altarpiece with images from the Passion of Christ. Andrea Devani depicts Christ's agony in the Garden of Gethsemane, his crucifixion, and his descent into limbo. The altarpiece can be seen at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. We recently spoke with an art historian for her perspective on how this can help us all prepare for Easter. And joining us now to discuss this altarpiece is Dr. Jem Sullivan, author of The Beauty of Faith. Jem, thank you so much for joining us. Talk to us a little bit about this picture. It's in three parts, and why is it so important for artists to depict this during Holy Week?
Sure, thank you for having me. Holy Week is the high point of the liturgical year. It's when the Church recalls the Lord's passion, death, and resurrection, not only as past historical events, but as mysteries of faith, by which the Church shares in Jesus' passing from life to death to new life in God. Since Holy Week is at the center of the Christian calendar, it's no surprise then that artists have brought to life in color, line, form, and movement the meaning of these sacred events.
And when you take a look at this, I mean, the detail of it, of Jesus praying at the rock, and yet you look up above him and a little angel there. Talk to us about that.
Sure. This 14th century altarpiece is a visual catechesis that really invites the viewer to journey, to walk with Jesus as he journeys to his cross and resurrection. It's the work of Andrea Devani, who is a gifted painter from Siena, and he signs his name at the bottom of the central panel. If we read the painting from left to right, we begin with the left panel. We see Jesus, as you pointed out, in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he's praying in intense agony such that his sweat turns to blood, drops of blood, and his eyes are raised to heaven, where an angel holds a chalice. As Jesus prays, "Not my will, but yours be done." Below, we see Jesus finding his disciples asleep. And then in the far distance, soldiers approach to arrest Jesus as he is betrayed by Judas. Then we move to the center panel, where we see the crucifixion of Jesus with two thieves beside him. Mary, his mother, is overcome with anguish as she falls to the ground, and St. John and Mary Magdalene stand at the foot of the cross. And we also see soldiers casting lots for Jesus' garments. And then we see the good thief being carried by angels to paradise, as Jesus promised him, while soldiers break the legs of the other thief. And then close to Jesus is a centurion on horseback, praying, "Truly this man was innocent beyond doubt." And then finally, the right panel moves to Holy Saturday, where here we see Jesus now clothed in radiant light as he goes in search of the lost souls that he seeks to reconcile to God. Now Jesus is trampling death as he descends into hell, and he reaches out to hold the hand of Adam. And above him, God extends his right hand in blessing, and John the Baptist holds a banner that reads, "Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world."
Have mercy on us all. Amen to that. What do you hope that people walk away from this? And I look at it and I see so many different things, and you start to study your own life and how is it that you're living your life for Christ? Is that what you hope that people walk away with this?
Absolutely. This Holy Week, we're going to hear gospel accounts of Jesus' passion, his death on the cross, his resurrection. And there's so many moments when we can enter into the mysteries of these sacred events. And so the Church really invites us to make the pattern of Jesus' dying and rising to new life, the pattern of our own Christian life.
And it's, we are disciples. We have to continue that. We are the Church.
That's right. And this is an invitation I think the Church invites us during Holy Week to really make that a reality.
Well, Dr. Jem Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your insight.
You're most welcome.
And finally tonight, the Knights of Columbus is helping displaced families in Ukraine celebrate Easter by distributing 10,000 care packages. And yesterday, the group enlisted a little bit of help. That's right, Supreme Knight Patrick Kelly met with Pope Francis, where the Holy Father blessed one of the care packages. Afterwards, the Supreme Knight Kelly helped to load the convoy en route to Poland. The packages will be distributed to displaced families in Ukraine just in time for Easter. And by the way, the Knights of Columbus is a sponsor of EWTN News Nightly. Want to thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News team, I'm Eric Rosales. Have yourself a wonderful night, and God bless and happy Easter.